Good day, this is MySQL Select query. We've already explained about the insert and the update and the delete query. But this time around, how do we retrieve the data that we already store in database? That is where we talk about the select query. Example is if you go to facebook.com for the first time or any other website, you are going to see the login form and also the registration form. You can call it anything, whether sign up, whether anything. But when you see this form, you can't just log in directly. It's not possible. You have to first sign up for the first time, and anytime after you sign up, then anytime you come back to Facebook, then all you need to do is just to log into your account, because during the course of sign up, your information is already stored in Facebook database, and when you log in with the correct email and password, automatically it's going to select your data that is already present on the database. It will select it out, and that is what we'll talk about, what select. But before we talk about select, you have to know that that data that is going to be selected, that data must already be in the what, in the database. Let me try to select something now. Normally this login form is also an example of what the query there is a select query, because it's as in the information will have been already present in the database, so we are just trying to retrieve the information back from the database. So if I decide to type anything, something that does not an incorrect email address at yahoo.com, I enter a password. By the time I click on login, since this email address and this password is not present already in Facebook database, automatically I will see something like an error. So that error can be anything, but this error is going to prompt me that, okay, this particular data you are trying to select from the database does not exist. That's the meaning of the error. Irrespective of whatever they ask to print out, they can say invalid username and password, anything, but just know it's because of the data is not already in the database. That is why you are seeing the error prompt. So if you want to log in, you have to first register first. So that means your information has to be on the database of that particular site first before you log in. And that login, this login that you are seeing, they make use of, Facebook make use of what? The select query, and that is what we are trying to talk about. So right now, the SQL select command is used to fetch data that is already in database from MySQL database. You can use this command at MySQL Pro, as in when you want to use it in command line. But right now we are not talking about command line here. We are talking about how to use MySQL, how to use PHP with MySQL, and we are going to start. So the syntax, so this is the SQL syntax for the select. You said select. After you did the insert syntax, you said insert blah 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 values blah 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 blah. But this time around, under the select query, we have the select, the feed 1, feed 2 up to feed n, table name, that is the table you want to select a particular data from, where then you are going to make use of the where clause. All these things you are still going to understand, so just take it easy. So right now, let's start with how to fetch data using a PHP script. That is, I believe that is what we are trying to learn. So you can use same SQL select command into PHP function using the MySQL query. This function is used to execute SQL command, and later another PHP function called the MySQL fetch array can be used to fetch all the selected data. This function returns row as an associative array, a numeric array, or both. This function returns false if there are no more rows. So below are the examples. So to fetch record from the user table, so let's try these examples. So just copy this code. Before we try that, let's first log into our FTP. Ewebtutor FTP. Let's log into a FTP. Host, and press the IP address. My username is this. My password is this. Then I'm going to go directly to my www directory. So from here I can create a new file. I can name it select.php. So let me copy this code. Let me copy it. So I'll copy, then I'm going to paste. So this is the code. But note one thing, I've told you that whenever you are using the select query, that information that you are trying to select must already be in the database, must already have been stored in database. But before an information will be stored in database, the table must already exist, which is true. I've already explained to you when you use the table, how to create a table. So right now, this data that we have, this query that we have here right now, it wants us to select tutorial_id. These are fields, because I've told you here that when the SQL syntax is in this way, the select, then the feed, after the feed, then you have the table. So right now, the tutorial_title is a feed, tutorial_id is a feed, this is a feed, this is a feed, this is a feed, this is a feed. From where do you want to select this, all this feed from? We've said that we want to select all the informations in this feed. From where do you want to select all this information from? You want to select it from, what's the name of database? Anything after from is your table name. So all this information that we have here, we want to select it from, because all this information, all this field, they are present inside what? The market_db_tbl table. And the name of our database is what? Market_db. That's the name of our database. But right now, did I have any database bearing market? Let me first log into my account, my phpMyAdmin for the database, so that I'll be able to create this database market_db. And when I create this database, then I can create all this feed inside it, so with this table name. So just note, even if the database of this particular SQL query, if it is not yet existing, I believe with all this field that you are seeing there, you should be able to know what you are going to create. So let's start. Let me first log into my So right now, what's the database that we use here? We make use of the market_db. I've told you this thing should be in small letter. There's a mistake. So your username underscore the name of the database that you created. So in my own example, let me create a new database. Let me call it market_db. So I've created the database market_db. So right now, what is the table? The table, I've told you that whenever you have select, all these other things that are here is the feed that are inside it. From, whatever you have after from is your table name. So this is our table name. So let's create a table. So our table name is this. So the first feed in this thing will be what? Tutorial_id. So I'm just trying to teach you how to create as a table. I believe I've already explained this in the previous examples. I've already explained all this in the previous examples. So but right now we are just trying to review everything that we have learned so far. So tutorial_title, and this one also is there. Tutorial_author is also there, and the last one is submission_date. So right now we've created a table, so we have to have a data type. Tutorial_id should be what? Should be integer, auto increment, integer and auto increment. Then tutorial_title, all those ones should be varchar. So let me give it a length of 20. Auto also is varchar. Let me give it the length of 20. Varchar 20. I believe you understand all I did here. So right now I will save. So that means I have a table called what? Called market_db_tbl. Under the database, what? My database is market_db. So look at the code. The code says that I should use this database with this name, and I should use the what? The table with this name. So inside this table now, all these fields are present inside. So we have successfully create our what? We have successfully create our table, the table that we are going to use. But note one thing. This select that we are doing now, the information that this just all you just see here is just a table, the creation of a table with a field. But right now, the data I've told you, like the example when I was talking about Facebook now, when you want to log in Facebook, the data must already be present inside Facebook. The data you are trying to select must already be present in a table, in database. So the same thing happens here now. In this table, we just create this table now. We need to insert data inside this table. So it's not that data that this select query is going to select out. So how do we insert data? Go to the insert section of this MySQL and PHP. I believe is a previous chapter that we did. I explained about the insert query. So you should be able to, with that, you should be able to understand how to insert data into a table. But right now there are two methods in which you can use. Let me just refresh your memory again. There are two methods you can use. The first method is we can insert directly from PHPMyAdmin, or from maybe the normal PHPMyAdmin, or from the mobile PHPMyAdmin. And we can also insert from a form. I believe that one, when you are creating a form, you can create a form that has this. I believe you know how to do it. You can create a form that has this form feed, and with that form, then you can use the insert query to insert the collect data from your user, and that data, whatever data you collect from user, once they click on register, automatically that data is going to be stored inside this table. I believe you should be able to do that. You should be able to do that yourself. So, but for right now, what we are trying to do is that, since I've already taught you how to create a form and how to use an insert query to insert the data collected from your user to the database. Right now, I'm not going to explain again how to create it, because that one you can find it in the last chapter. But right now, I'm going to insert data inside this table. So how did I do that inside in the mobile PHPMyAdmin? I'll just click on new item. New item. So the first one I can say tutorial 1. And I give it ID of 1. Then the title, I can say the title of the book, because it's a book. I can say Dream I. The author, Olaide. Submission date, that the person borrowed the book. Let me say September 5. Let me just put it this way, save. So right now, inside our table what? Market underscore DB underscore TBO, there's always a person data. There's one data inside it. So whether you use a form to collect data and use insert query to insert it to the database using PHP, whether you do that or whether you come here directly, but just note you are the only one that have access to insert data inside the mobile PHPMyAdmin or the normal PHPMyAdmin. You are the only one that have the access, because it requires you to have username and password. But if you want your user data to be on your database, all you need to do is you have to create a form for them. So it's that from that form that they can connect to your database. Just as simple as that. So right now we have only one data in our database. So let me add another data there. To, let me say, letter love, author Lagbaja, and submission date October 5. So it's there right now. So we have two data. So let's start with the data. Since two data is already in our database, then how do we select it? Then we go back to our select query. So right now, let me just explain row by row. I believe I've already explained most of all these things during the previous chapter. But right now, this is our host. We said it's local host. That's always a local host. Your DB user, the username of your database, to connect to your database. This is my own. You can change it to your own. The password, this is my password. Then this is MySQL query to connect to the database. So if all this information is correct, it should be able to connect you to the database. Else, if the information is correct, that's why I said that if this connection, because we have saved this connection, we have saved it as a variable called $con. We now say if $con is not correct, that is, if the configuration is not correct, then we ask it to give an error, could not connect. Else, if the information is correct, then it should run the next statement, which is this statement. So here now, we define an SQL query. We say it should select tutorial underscore ID, tutorial underscore title, tutorial underscore author, submission underscore date. That is, you should select all these feeds. You should select all these feeds from this table. Because all this feed that you want to select, it belongs to which table? It belongs to table market underscore db underscore tbl. Because under your database market underscore db, there can be a lot of table inside it. How will the program, your SQL query, your select query, how will you know which table have all this feed? So that is why you have to signify the table name that has all this feed. So from the name of a table that has all this feed is what? Market underscore db underscore tbl. So this is our select query. Select the fields from the table name. So right now, using this query now, we ask it today, although we have selected this feed, we have selected the feed, and we have specified the table that contain that feed. The table that contain that feed, we have also specified it. But in our database, how do you now specify the database that contain the table? Note, the feed is contained inside the table, but the table has to be contained inside the what? A database, because we can have different database. Right now, this is what I'm trying to say is that it's possible you have different database. It's possible you have multiple database, but the field you are looking for is inside a table. You have to specify the name of a table, and that table must be inside the database. That is why we say the table market underscore db underscore tbl is inside our what? Database market underscore db. So this is where we specify it. We now say that if this query that we try to perform, that we ask it to what? We ask it to select tutorial. We should select all these things. If the query is not okay, that is the selection, if is not right, then it should give an error, could not get the data. Because right now we are not connecting to the database again. That's why we can say could not connect. Right now we've already jumped could not connect, because we believe that our information is correct. That's why we proceed to this next stage. But right now we are trying to say that this SQL statement that we are trying to fetch our data. We are trying to say if there is no data inside this thing, or there is an error with this getting of data, then we have to give an error, what? Could not get data. Else, if there is no error, then it should proceed here. So let's see what happened here. I've told you that when I was talking about the MySQL fresh underscore array. So I believe you understand. You know why we use why. Why is for looping. I believe I explained this during the course of PHP. Why is used to loop. When you want to loop through something, we can make use of the while loop, the for loop, the do loop. There are a lot of looping. So you can refer back to the section of PHP so that you understand. Why we use while loop here now is that we are trying to loop through all the results, making use of we said MySQL underscore fetch array. I say it should fetch each of these rows that is inside the database. Each of the data that is already in the database that we select, each of the data that we select. Here now we ask it to select all the data inside the tutorial underscore ID, all the data inside the tutorial underscore 2, all the data. That means to say every field that we have in our table we have to select everything. Every field we have in our table, we have to select everything. So all these fields that we have to select. So every data that is inside our table is going to select them. So using the while loop now, it will be the system cannot select everything at once. As in, this select query cannot select everything at once. So it has to select them one by one. So that's why we make use of the while loop, so that once it selects one, it will loop through the second one, it will loop through the third one, it will loop through the fourth one. It will not be looping like that until the end of the data inside the database that you select. Normally we select using this code now, the SQL code that we have here. You will still understand. We are still going to tell you we are still going to really explain what this SQL query, what it does. But for right now, just know that here now we have to select all these fields in our database from this table, and we now say that whatever it selects, it should be looping into all the data that is present there. Right now we have two data. It will first loop in the first one, it will print the result. Then it will loop on the second one, it will print the results. So that's the way it will be doing up to the end. But right now we only have two data, so it will just loop through data, and that's the end. So doing the looping, what should it be displaying? The first loop wanted to display making use of the echo. I believe I've already explained to you PHP, the meaning of echo. Echo is to print result. The first loop we have to echo what? Tutorial ID. This one will just be in form of a string. Tutorial ID and $row tutorial ID. So the first row, let's say when it first loop the first time, it is going to pick this row, because it will first loop the first time, it will pick the first row. So this first row now, we now say that it should echo what? Tutorial underscore ID. You will now see something, you will now see a printer that will say tutorial ID space. So in front of it, it will now select $row tutorial underscore ID. So in this first row that is select, it will just bring out the first data that is there. Then you will now see what? Tutorial ID, you will see 1 in front of it. So you see tutorial ID 1, because $row tutorial underscore ID, that means the first row, using this while loop now, it selects the first data, and the first data here now, this is first data. So inside the first data now, you have $row tutorial underscore ID, which is the first ID, that is the first feed inside the first row, because making use of the MySQL underscore fetch underscore array, that is the row. It will select the row. That's using this query, you want to select the row. But right now you have used while loop. You have used while loop so that in case the row is much, in case the row is not just one, once you finish one row, go to the next row. But right now under this while loop now, we are still on the first row. It has already selected the first row. So this first row now, the data that is inside this first row now, you now want to retrieve it. So to retrieve the data inside tutorial underscore ID, we are going to use $row tutorial underscore ID. To retrieve this one, we are going to use the $row underscore row tutorial underscore title, vice versa. So right now, we want to select the first value inside this first row, because this while loop first loop through the first row. So we want to select the tutorial underscore ID row, then we are going to use the $row tutorial underscore ID. So it's going to select the data that is here, which is 1. Then break line means it should go to the next line. You understand that in HTML syntax. Then the second thing is the title. $row tutorial underscore title. You now see title, you see dream I. The third one, like that. So this is just formatting. So once it's finished printing out each of these fields, once you finish printing out each of these fields, what will you do? It will go to it will loop, because of while loop, it will loop through the second row again. Then you have the second row. So it will now repeat what it will repeat in the first row, it will repeat it in the second row. If there are 2,000 rows inside the table now, automatically it will be doing them one by one until it finish everything. But you know, system is very, very fast. So within a matter of seconds, everything, even if it's 200, everything has been selected. So that is just about this. So after it's finished looping through all the rows, like right now in our example, we only have 2 rows. After it's finished looping through all the rows, then we are going to see a success message that will say what? Fetch data successfully. Then the MySQL is going to close the connection. So this is just the interpretation of this. Just note, SQL query is more than this. But right now with this, I believe you should be able to create a site that, for example, now if somebody were like, okay, let me click on view ticket on your site, you should be able to use this select query to select all the tickets that you have already entered in the database. You should be able to print everything out. So that is just about the select query on this section. So right now, but we are still going to modify this code. So let's run this code and see our results. So let's save. So after we save, let me open my site. This is my site. This is my site domain name. What's the name of the file that we just created? Select.php. So let me open it directly. Select.php. Can you see what we have? And after it's finished, it first choose the first row. It print out the result. Then it separate them by this. How did this thing get there? That you choose to separate. Let's go back to FTP. You will discover that at the end of printing the first row, at the end of printing every row, we ask it to what? To end it with what? This. So at the end of every row, you always have this. So that is why we have the, can you see, at the end of this thing, we have this. At the end of this row, we also have this. So at the end of each row, at the end of each row, we always have this, what you are seeing right now. So right now, tutorial underscore id, then this is the first row, tutorial underscore id, we said $row tutorial underscore id, that's $tutorial underscore id for the first one. What do we have? 1. For the title, we said title, we said you should print out title. Yeah, we said you should print out title. Then we now say $row tutorial underscore title. But note, we are still in the first row. And this first row now, tutorial underscore $row tutorial underscore title is what? Dreamy. That's why you have Dreamy. We are still in the first row. We say author underscore tutorial underscore author in the first row is Olaide, and submission underscore date $row. What I mean is this: $row submission underscore date for the first row is what? September 5. Why the second row of $underscore row submission underscore dates for the second column is October 5. So it's just as simple as this. So you can try it yourself. You can even change the database name, but make sure whatever database you use, make sure inside your code, make sure you change it to the same name that you use. You may not use all this database, all this feed that we use. You may use another feed that suits whatever you want, but make sure that at the end of creating the database, the table and the feeds, make sure you change it to the right thing inside these scripts. So that is just the first example. So I believe I've already explained all this for you. So for theoretical purpose, you can go through this material. So right now, look at this example. But there is something I want to teach you here right now. There are times you may want to select thousands of feet. Will you not be saying tutorial underscore id, comma? So what I'm trying to say, instead of saying comma, tutorial underscore id, comma, tutorial underscore feed, comma, tutorial underscore author, instead of using comma to list all the feeds. Because there are times that right now we have how many feet? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 feet. That's why it's very, very easy for us to be saying comma. But let's say we now have 1,000 feet and want to select all the data there. Will you be separating them by comma? It's a waste of time. Because you have 1,000 feet. Before you finish comma, kiniko, comma, this, comma, that, time will have gone. So instead of saying all these things, another thing that I can use, if I want to select all the feed in my database, if I want to select all the feed in my table, instead of selecting them, I'm using their name by separating them by comma. All I just need to do is I will just use ordinary asterisk. So if I say select asterisk from this table name, it means select all the feed from table name market underscore db underscore tbl. So instead of listing all the feed, tutorial underscore id, comma, tutorial underscore author, comma, instead of listing all the feed one by one and separating them by comma, just use asterisk. Asterisk has covered everything. So even if you have 1 billion feed inside this table, automatically it's going to select all the 1 billion. Just as simple as that. So let's run this query and refresh our web page and see if we are still going to have the same thing. So we've saved it. Let's refresh. You discover that we are still going to have the same, exactly the same thing. Can you see? We still have exactly the same thing. So if I decide to add, let me add another item. Let me add another feed. Let me say 3. Lost. Ṣẹ́gun. November. So let me save it. So if I refresh this page now, I'm still going to have the third. Can you see? I'll still have the third feed. So it's as simple as that. So right now, that is about asterisk, because you may have been wondering that you always see asterisk with a select query. What's the meaning? So in case you don't want to be selecting all those things one by one, then you just use this is another example, and let's see what this example did. This example is still exactly the same as what we did previously. It's still the same thing. So it's still the same thing. We have the connection. You set the connection file. We ask you to select tutorial, click select this, select that, select this from table name. Then we ask you to select the database. Then if you could not get that, you put the error. Why? So everything is fresh. It will loop through all the data in the database, and it's going to be, as it's looping, it's going to be printing out these results. So tutorial ID $row at that particular row, y row at that particular row, then whatever value that is inside tutorial underscore ID is going to print it out here. Whatever value that is inside the tutorial underscore title is going to print out here. Whatever value, so it's still the same thing as the previous example. So that is but just know one thing, the only difference between this example and this example is this. Here now we use $row, we use MySQL underscore fetch underscore array. We use the fetch array. But here, what do we use? We use MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc. That is what we used here. So but it's still going to give you the same, exactly the same result. So since all this, since they are still equal to what we have there, the only thing that difference is just this y. So let me just copy ordinary this y and try. You see under this y now you have MySQL underscore fetch underscore array for this one. So but let's refresh it to let's change it to, so right now we have changed it to what? We've changed it to MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc. So let's run it and see what we have. It's still the same code as that one. The only difference is just that fetching syntax. So what do we have? Can you see? We still have the same thing. So whether you use MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc brackets tolerate var, or whether you use this, you are still going to have the same thing. They are still talking about the same thing. So it now depends on whichever one that you choose to use. Another thing that is here is you can also make use of the MySQL underscore none. None means you are getting the row. You are not getting the row name via you know, normally when you want to get the row here now, when you want to get the row here now, you said row tutorial underscore, you make use of the feed name that I want to get. You make use of the feed name that I want to get the row. Okay, by this row, using the while loop, you've already know that we are talking about row by row. You are saying that by this row now, then you are trying to say tutorial ID $row tutorial ID. So the data inside this first the tutorial underscore ID row, the data inside it is what you are trying to retrieve here. So here now, using this MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc, we make use of the word, the feed name, to call the data out. We make use of the feed name to call the data out. But in this example now, if we make use of the MySQL underscore fetch underscore array and we use the MySQL underscore none, that means we don't want to be using the feed name. In case you don't know the feed name, we don't want to be using the feed name to call the data out. Although time we still use the $row, but this time around we want to be using an integer number. We want to be using an integer to call the data out. Then how do we do it? Just know the first data, the first field that starts a table is an integer value of what? 0. The next is 1, next is 2, next is 3, like that, up to infinity. So normally if I use the MySQL, if I use this one, if I use the MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc then retvar, if I use this method, anytime I want to call each of these data out, I'm going to be using the feed name to call them out by saying $row, whatever field it is, $row, whatever field, to call the data out. But if I use MySQL underscore fetch underscore array retvar MySQL underscore num, then instead of using the feed name to call the data out, I will not be using the feed integer to call the data out. So like this example now, the feed integer of tutorial underscore id is what? Is 0. The feed integer of tutorial underscore title is what? Is 1, 2, 3. So I will not be using that to call them out. But I believe this method is still the best, the fastest method. But let's try that and see if we are still going to have the same thing. Since all the other code are the same, the only thing that we just need to change is this. So let's see what we have. So right now we want to call the data out, tutorial underscore id, we want to call the data out. So instead of using the feed name tutorial underscore id to call the data out, then we are going to use their integer, the feed integer value. That's why we use the word MySQL underscore fetch underscore array MySQL underscore num. So we are going to be using the feed integer value because you know that tutorial underscore id has a what? Feed integer value of 0. Tutorial underscore title has a what? Feed integer of what? Of 1. So we are going to make use of the integer value to call them out. So but the best thing, since you know the table, the fields you have created, the best thing is for you to be using the other previous example, so that you just be calling them based on the feed name instead of using the feed integer value. But just note, if you want to use the feed integer value, we are going to use this statement. But if it's the other one that we want to use, then you will just change it to the previous what we have before. So this time around you can be using the feed name directly. But I prefer using this method than using the integer value because it's a waste of time. So I prefer using this method. So that's just on that. So that's on that. So the same thing is still happens to this also. The same thing happens to this. But just note, the only thing that is just different is just all this while loop. How they are using different structure to call the data out, and that's what we are trying to explain. But the normal code is still the same as ever. It's just the while loops that is different. So right now we are going to talk about the where clause. We are going to talk about the where clause. Normally we've talked about the select, we've talked about the from, we've talked about the select. Then whatever is after the select is what? The feed name. And if you want to use all the feed name, then you just use asterisk. From, anything that is after from is what? Is always the table name. So right now let's talk about the where clause. We have seen SQL select command to fetch data from my SQL table. We can use a conditional clause called the where clause to filter out results. Using where clause, we can specify a selection criteria to select required records from a table. Look at what happened now. When I run this code, automatically all the data inside my database, inside my table, all the data that is inside there, everything will just populate. Why? Everything will just populate. It's because of I did not use a where clause. It's because if we didn't use the where clause, every data that is inside the database is just going to populate out. And that is if you don't want that way, then that's when you make use of the word, the where clause. And note one thing, when you log in with a particular site, we also make use of the word, the where clause. The program, the registration form, the login page will make use of the where clause, because it will tell them that okay, select this particular person's data where his username is equals to what? The username you enter. where the username in database is equals to the username he enter, and there will be an and clause, and where the password equals to what? The password that he entered. So if the user, is not possible for two people to have in a site, like say for example Facebook, it's not possible for them to have the same username and they will have the same password. It's not possible. So that's why you see that the username that you are using in Facebook is different from the username that any other person is using. And if you are just registering for the first time and somebody has choose your username, even Gmail, it will tell you that a person has choose the username, because two people cannot have the same username and password. It's not possible. It's possible you have the same username but you won't have the same password. It's possible you have the same password but you won't have the same username. One have to be different, and that's one is now what you are going to be using to log in into your accounts. So there will not be an SQL statement that will say that you should select what? It select this data where the username that the person enter is equals to the username that is in data, where the username that is in database is equals to the username that is the person enter, and the password that is in the database is equals to the what? The password that the person enter. Then it should log you in. So they make use of the where clause. But if you don't use the where clause, every information you have in database, everything will just be populated, like this example. But let's use the where clause. Let's use the where clause now. Even though we have 3 data in our database, even though we have 3 data, 3 rows in our database, we just want to use the where clause where that we want only this second data to be populated. How do we do that? We only want this second data to be populated. It's only to, when we run this code now, we want only this second data to be shown. We don't want the first one and the third one to be there. We only want the second one. So that is when we make use of the word, the where clause. So let's edit our code. This is our code. So we are still going to edit the code from what? The SQL statement. We said what? Select asterisk from table name. Then right now from the table name, we are not going to use the where. What do you want to use to select? Let's use the tutorial underscore ID to select. Where tutorial underscore ID is equals to what? Is equals to, since we say the only thing we want to show is what? Is only the second row. Where tutorial underscore ID is equals to what? Is equals to 2. That's it. Where tutorial underscore ID is equals to data 2, and then you should select the row. Whatever is here, then you should select everything out. That's the meaning. 2. So let's save this and refresh our web page and see what we have. So this time around, you are not going to have this 3 data. It's not going to show everything because we are making use of the where clause that where tutorial underscore ID is equals to 2. Then you should select that row. Then we are going to have there is a error. What's the error? So let me troubleshoot. Let me see. There's a problem we have. What's the problem? Let's see. Okay. The problem is that 2 space. That's where the error is. So let me save this and refresh the page. Can you see? So right now we only have the second row. It's not only tutorial underscore ID that I can use to select. I can use any of these fields to select. I can say where tutorial underscore title equals to lost. Then that means if I say where tutorial underscore title equals to lost, that means it's going to select this 3rd row. Let's try that and see what we have. Tutorial underscore what? Title is equals to lost. Is equals to lost. Is equals to lost. But there is something you have to understand here now. When the reason we use to that time directly is because it's an integer. But this time around, this is a string, and a string must always be inside the quotes. And you know that if we put one quote here and we put another quote here, like the previous example, it's post an error for us. So what we just do is, instead of using just one single quote here, let's use the double quotes here. So this should help us. It's still the same thing as what we have the other time. It's just at that time we only use ordinary 2 because ordinary 2 can be alone. without being inside a quote. But whenever you have a string, the string must always be inside the quotes. But if we use a single quote here and we also use a single quote to demarcate this place, then we are going to have an error. So that is why I change this demarcation. I change it to what? The double quotes. And for my string, I make use of the single quote. So what I'm trying to say is that where tutorial underscore title is equals to what? Lost. So it should just display that record alone. That's the meaning. So once I refresh my web page now, can you see? Then I should be able to see my data. So can you see now that you can use any of these field? All you just need to do is you can also say where exclamation underscore date equals to what? November or equals to October. Then you select that row, and that is what will happen. And it's possible for you to use two things to select a data. I can say where tutorials underscore id equals to 2 and tutorial underscore author equals to or equals to lagbaja. Let's try that. Where tutorial underscore title equals to what? Equals to lost equals to 2. Tutorial where tutorial underscore title equals to what? Letter love. Let's use this. Where tutorial underscore title equals to what? Letter love. And you can make use of the and clause. And submission underscore dates equals to October 5. Submission underscore dates equals to October 5. Is the submission correct? Yeah, it's correct. Submission underscore date equals to. So what will happen is where if only one of these two things is correct, it's not going to do anything because you make use of the word, the and clause. The two has to be correct. Let's say in this row, in any row that you want to select, the tutorial underscore title must be a love letter and the submission underscore date must be October 5 before you'll be able to see the record of that row. Else, nothing is going to happen. So right now, since this row, since there is a row that we have love letter and on the same row, that's why we use the and clause, we also have October 5. Is that possible? Love letter and October 5. Can you see? There's a row that we have love letter and October 5 from the tutorial underscore title and the submission underscore date. Then if we run this code, let's save this. If we run this code, then we should be able to see our results. Can you see? Love letter and October 5. Letter love and October 5. Let me now do something. Let me say you should select where tutorial underscore title equals to love letter loves and the submission underscore date equals to what? October 5. Let's see, maybe it will run. Is there any row that tutorial underscore title is letter loves and submission underscore date is October 5? There is a row that says that submission underscore date equals to October 5, but inside the same row there is no way that tutorial underscore title equals to letter loves. Is letter love that we have, not letter loves. So this time around, since there is no row that the tutorial underscore title equals to letter loves and submission underscore date equals to October 5, since there is no row, then what we are going to have is what? Could not get data. That is what we are going to have. So let's save this. By the time we refresh this page now, we discover that we have could not get data, could not fetch data. It will not be able to fetch the data. Can you see? It's because of this error. We always ask it to as you post this thing, as in to post this message, fetch data successfully. So that's why we are saying fetch data successfully. But still no, it's still fetching any data. It's not fetching any data. So it's because of this thing. Whether it works, whether it fetches data, whether it didn't fetch data, we always see this message. So that is why we are seeing the message, but the data doesn't fetch because the SQL statement does not have anywhere that tutorial underscore or any row, because this is dealing with row, does not have any row that the tutorial underscore title equals to letter loves and submission underscore date equals to what? October 5. So that's just about the where clause. So there's about the where clause. But right now I use the equals to. Under the where clause, we can also make use of the not equals to the greater than, the less than. We can make use of all these operand also. So let's try this example and see what we have. I believe I've already explained this and you can do it yourself, so there's no need of wasting time on it. So here now they just say you should select something. They select from all this field from the table name where tutorial underscore author equals to what? Sanjay. But if we run this code ourselves right now, it's still going to select anything. Is there any row that tutorial underscore author equals to Sanjay? Is there any row there? Is there any row that tutorial underscore author equals to Sanjay? There is no row that tutorial underscore author is Sanjay. Then definitely what we have no data. No data will be selected. But assuming they say that we should select where tutorial underscore author equals to Shegun, then we know that it's going to print out this row, because there is a place where tutorial underscore author is equals to what? Equals to Shegun. If they say select where tutorial underscore title equals to Dreamy and tutorial underscore author equals to Olaide, then we know that there is a row where tutorial underscore title equals to Dreamy and tutorial underscore author is Olaide. Then you select this first row. Just as simple as that. So you can run this code yourself, just change all the parameters. And so there's also what we refer to as the like clause. We have seen SQL Select command to fetch data from database. We have also seen the conditional where clause. So right now we are going to talk about the SQLite clause. If SQLite clause is used along with %character, then it will work like a meta character in units while listing out all the files directly at the prompt. Without a %character, like clause is very similar to equal sign along with where clause. So let's see how the like clause, let's see how it works. This is what they make use of in what's it called, in search engine. Why? Let's say you go to maybe google.com now, you want to search an information, you just say maybe you want to search for pregnant, but you said preg, you now forgot to put C and you click on enter that you should search. You forgot to put pregnancy. You want to search on pregnancy and you forgot to put CY, you now say pregnant. So Gmail, they have make use of the like. So this thing is now going to search into Gmail database. It will now look for anything that is like, that is like compared to what you have here. Is going to bring them out. So that's why when you search this thing, the next thing that you are going to see is what? Pregnancy. You are going to see pregnancy because there will be a word that is like to this word inside the database. So if I say select and I use where clause and I use also like, I use where clause, I also use like, where tutorial underscore title equals to what? Letter, ordinary letter, is going to print out this row. Because what? There's letter love here. So letter is, it likes to what? Letter love. So it's still going to print out this row. Even though I must specify that what? Where title tutorial underscore title equals to what? Equals to letter love. But because I use the like, let's try this example and see what we have. Since we are just talking about like, so this is just the only thing that we need to maneuver. So look at what we have here now. Select, I've told you all these things now. Instead of writing it one by one, you can just use the asterisk tool. So select asterisk from market where tutorial underscore author. Look at it now. We use the where clause. Where, but this where now we are not using is equals to. We use the where tutorial underscore author. Instead of using is equals to maybe Ade, Kola, instead of using Ade, Kola, Shegun, instead of using is equals to Ade, Kola, all those things, we do not bother to use that. We only use where tutorial underscore author like J. So in front of J we put what? percentage, and after J we put what? Percentage. So that means whenever tutorial underscore author equals to J, is there any J here? It may not be J, the whole of thing may be J, but inside each of this string, if there is anywhere that there is J, it's going to select it. If I say, okay, that it should select asterisk from the table name, where tutorial underscore author like, if I say like, let me use like tutorial underscore author like bar. So what do you think it will select? It's going to select this row. Why? Because tutorial underscore author, although here now we have lagbaja, but inside lagbaja there is bar inside this place. So that bar that enter here, it's like what? It has property, it has strings, it's contained inside lagbaja. So definitely it's going to select this row. So that is why like is okay. Because if you are using where kiniko is equals to this thing, they must be related. If you are using where tutorial underscore author equals to what? Shegun, there must be a place where tutorial underscore author equals to Shegun before that row is going to be displayed. But if you say where tutorial underscore author is equals to Sheguns, put S. Since there is no row inside your table that tutorial underscore author equals to Sheguns, automatically it's not going to display anything. Even though Sheguns and Shegun, even though they are alike, it's still not going to display anything. So that is why, in case you are not fully sure whether whatever user will enter is equals to what is in the table, then you can make use of like. And that is what happens when you want to create a search engine in your website. When you want to create a search engine in your website, the user don't need to, maybe whenever they want to search something, they want to search on information, maybe they want to search on about us, and the feed you create in database is about us. You should give the user the ability. Some user can come here and just search on ordinary about. They should still be able to see your about us, even with just ordinary about. They should, even if the user just search us, they still be able to see your page us, because it will make it in such a way that it will like whatever you put inside the database, and that is what we refer to as what? The likes. So if I run this code right now, select asterisk from market underscore dp underscore tpl where tutorial underscore author like bar, and before bar I put percentage, and after bar I put percentage. So tutorial underscore author, is there any way that I like bar here now? Lagbaja, there is bar there. Although this thing now la represents the percentage that is in the left hand side, this percentage, and this ja or represent the percentage that is what? At the right side. So since they represent themselves, the left and the right hand side, so that means there is still content that is in the left and there is still content in the right. But I just want you to be, you should ignore the left and right, and this center is what is important. So that is why you just select this lagbaja, because the la will not be important, the ja will not be. You just see it as bar. You just see this row as bar because you have used what? Like percentage bar percentage. You have used like bar percentage. You have used that. So to just select, if you just see lagbaja as what? As bar, then to select this row to see it as where tutorial underscore author equals to what? Equals to bar. To just see it as lagbaja. So let's save this file and run it and see what we have. Can you see? It will display lagbaja because the tutorial underscore author has what? Has bar. So even if I use AJ, ordinary AJ, where tutorial underscore author equals to AJ. If I use where tutorial underscore author equals to AJ, let me try that. Tutorial underscore author equals to AJ is still going to bring lagbaja because inside lagbaja there is AJ. Like, notice like is not equals to because if you use where tutorial underscore author equals to AJ, then the feed tutorial underscore author, there has to be a place that is AJ, and right now there is no place that is AJ, so it's not going to display anything. But if you use where tutorial underscore author like AJ, because you are not saying is equals to now, you are saying like AJ, then since Lagbaja has AJ inside it, then you're still going to select this row. So let's see what happened now. Ewebtutor underscore author like ordinary AJ. But make sure there is percentage in the before and there is percentage after anything you use. So let me refresh this web page. So I'm still going to see this. Can you see? But if I say where tutorial underscore author is equals to where tutorial underscore author like ordinary A, which one do you think did you display? Where tutorial underscore author like ordinary A is going to display this row, because under allowed there is A there, and it's still going to display this row, because under Lagbaja where tutorial underscore author, under Lagbaja there is even 2A, there is A also there. So it's going to display 2 rows for me. Let's see whether it happened. Shegun does not have A inside it, then nothing is going to be displayed. So let's refresh this. You are going to have 2 rows. Can you see? You have 2, because Olaide contain A and Lagbaja also contain A. Just as simple as that. So that's just on the where clause. So you can practice this yourself. So that's just about the selection. But right now, the registration form, this is just to select data from database. But a normal sign up form, it makes use of the select query. This select query that we are teaching you, it makes use of this select query. But there are still some things that are inside it, like some security thing, like if username and password is not correct, then post an error. All these things are not here when we are teaching you this. So when we are talking about the project aspect of this section of this course, the project aspect, please, we are going to explain in detail how to create a login forms, a registration forms, how to log into a site, how to go to your member page. We are going to really explain that in a complex way. But right now we are only teaching you about how to select data out of database. We are not really talking about, we are just trying to talk about that select query is what they use inside a login page. But it's not the only thing that contains inside the login page. It's just part of a login page. Just note that. It's a major thing inside the login page, but it's not the only thing, because inside the login page you should be able to validate whether a page whether a username and password is correct or not. You should be able to validate if the username is only correct and the password is not correct, so that you tell the person that the password is not correct. So it should be able to validate all this information. So just note, the MySQL query select is present inside the login page, but it's not the only thing that is present, just the major thing. So but under the project section, which is the next tutorial, we are going to teach you how to create a login forms, how to create a login forms, how to log into a site, how to do the login that will log into a particular website, that you can create your mobile on your admin page, administrator page, and stuff like that. They will give you a script examples for you to practice with. A already made site that contain login, registration, and everything is working perfectly. It's not just a form without going anywhere. When you register it, you go to your database. When you log in, it will take you to your account. You see your account section and stuff like that. So in the next chapter, we are going to talk about that. But before I go, I'm going to explain about the MySQL database exports and MySQL database imports. Let's say, for example, now you build a site and a database in a particular server or a host, a cPanel, and let's say that site that you built there has the database. Let's say you want to use that same database in another site. Will you start creating the database structure? Will you start creating the feed, the database, the table name? Will you start creating it in another database again? It's a waste of time. So that is why we talk about what? The imports and what? And the exports. That's why we talk about the imports and what? The exports. So a database that you have inside a database one, you can export it to a database 2. Let me just show you a typical example. Normally our Ewebtutor mobile PHP admin only have the import. It does not have the export. So for now it only has the import, it does not have the export. But if you want to use the import and export facilities, then you can go to your normal PHP admin inside your cPanel. So let me log into my cPanel. Let me log into my cPanel so that I'll be able to take you the normal database. So the password is, my username is this and my password is this. So PHP admin. So right now I can be able to log into my, so the database that I created inside my Ewebtutor mobile PHP admin market underscore is still the same thing I'm looking at here. So what I'm trying to say is that this market underscore DP is possible that I want to, the same table, the same structure, it's possible I want to use it. It's possible I want to use it in another cPanel, that is in another PHP admin. It's possible I want to use it in another one. Maybe I have 2 sites now. I designed the database in the first site. The database, and I want to use the same database, the same structure, the same name of table, the same feed of those tables, and I want to use it in my second website. All I need to do is I should export it. So by clicking, you just come to the normal PHP admin, because the mobile one does not have the export facilities. You click on export. You click on, it will give you the format SQL, CSV, all these things has meaning, but the one that I want to talk about right now is just the SQL. You click on SQL, then quick, just leave it the way it is right now, then you click on go, then it will ask you to save it, then you save it. So right now this is your table, market underscore db.sql. So that's the table. You have export the table. You have export the table like that. You understand? But it's possible for you to export a whole database. Right now I've only export the table market underscore db. Sorry, I said the table. This is my database. So I'll be able to export this database now. So I'll be able to export this database market underscore db. So right now if I go to under my download file, I should be able to see my database. Can you see? Let me just copy it to my desktop. Let me copy it to my desktop. So when you export it like that, it's going to be stored on your devices. Depending on, maybe you are using a mobile phone, whether you are using a system, it's going to be stored on your download section on your devices. So you have exported like that. So from the first database, your first site database, first click on the name of the database, then you click on export. Then when you click on export, just leave it the way it is in SQL format, then you click on go. Automatically it will ask you to save. When you save, it's going to show in your download section. That's already export like that. So the next thing you will do is you are now going to log in to your second cPanel. Let me just go to the site I have. Which site can I use now? Let me go to another site that I have. So let me log in. So this is another of my websites. So I can log into this one. So right now I've logged into my second site. This is my second site. Ewebtutor is my second site. My first site is markets. So this is my second site. So I will also go to my phpMyAdmin. So but note, this time around, the first time in my first site, I export out. But in the second time now, in my second website, what will I do? I will import what I've export. I will import it. So, and I've told you the mobile phpMyAdmin also has import facilities. So instead of using the cPanel phpMyAdmin to import, you can as well use the Ewebtutor phpMyAdmin. The reason I don't use the Ewebtutor phpMyAdmin to export is because it does not have the export facility, right? It does not have the exporting facility, so that's the reason I don't use it. But for right now, this has the exporting or the cPanel phpMyAdmin has the exporting facilities and the importing facilities. So right now in my second site, this is my example site, Ewebtutor. So what will I do? I'll just click on import. So it will now ask me to browse. Then I will click on browse. I will now go through my system. So what I export the other time is what's name is market_db. I will just click on it. Can you see it? I select it, market_db.sql. Then after I finish an SQL file, the format is an SQL, because when you are exporting it, you export it in an SQL. Then once you finish, then what you have to do, just ask it to go. When you finish, then you ask it to go. So automatically once you click on go like this, you'll have seen it somewhere around here. You'll have seen it there. So that's just about the importing and the exporting. So for further inquiries, please, you can contact us on the Ewebtutor. So thank you for being there. Bye.